Welcome to High Gluttony. I am your solo host, Gretchen. Today, we are going to be making Hara Bhara with a burnt lime ratia. Ratia? Sorry. Looked up the other one, didn't look that one up. I had made this on my most recent travels to the UK with my brother, who is the one who introduced me to the Fresh India book, which this recipe comes from. These are pretty easy, but they're a little time consuming, and making sure that you get the right consistency could be a little bit tricky. So I think this is probably maybe most likely world level too, just because there's a bit of labor involved, and that sometimes getting patties or any like cake like thing correct consistency wise is a little bit tricky, but these were very easy. I was able to complete this in about 45 minutes. Obviously, we have cut this down so you don't have to listen to me spend a bunch of time mashing things and smashing things and mixing things. But the whole process took about 45 minutes. The recipe is really good. This is one of my hands down favorite cookbooks for this reason. Of course, I do have a couple of notes and alterations for this dish, because what would I be doing here otherwise? I will go over that in just a minute, but I'm going to start by reading Mira's little story that goes along with these kebabs, and then telling you about the name of them as well, because she doesn't get into that, and I feel like she should have, because it feels like it's a major part of these kebabs. Now, to quote from the Fresh India cookbook, one of my favorite places in Mumbai is the Chor Bazaar, or Thieves' Market. It used to be where the vagabonds and villains in the city would offload their stolen loot. These days you can find ancient tiffin boxes and all sorts of knickknacks there, and right in the midst there's a man with the best Hara Bhara kebabs I've ever eaten. Packed full as many greens, or Hara, as he can stuff into them. They're soft, charred, but bright with fresh herbs, chili, and lemon. I've tried to recreate them here as best I can. And she did a pretty good job. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. These are delicious. Not sure if they're really holding true to the originals, because I have never been to this bazaar in India. I will have to go at some point, but I can't say if she's nailed it, but these are very, very good. Delicious. And they feel very healthy because they do have spinach in them. Yeah, they do have a nice kind of bright flavor, and the dressing, which is yogurt, burnt lime, salt, and sugar, and nigella seeds. Very simple, but really continues on with lifting the flavors that are in this. They just made it. I was so impressed with this recipe because, frankly, anytime you do anything weird with a fruit or a lime or anything like that, I'm pretty excited about it. This really won me over, and I thought I would make it for the podcast because, well, I'm the only one doing it. What I say goes right now. The name of these, Hara Bhara, she spells hers Harabara, and the internet seems to think it should be spelled, the first word is correct, Hara, but Bhara. So I'm sure that's just comes down to who you talk to and where you are. The name of this is Hara, is green, and Bhara, or Bhara, that means filled or full of. This is one of my favorite recipes I've come across recently, just because it's so easy, relatively speaking, especially if you have all the ingredients on hand, and most people should be able to have most of this on hand. I would think the limes would probably be the least likely thing. But I have some notes on the recipe. So let's go ahead and read through the ingredients, and then we'll read through the process. But I'm going to do my process only because she's very wordy And she's got like full on paragraphs in this recipe. And when I was breaking this down last night before recording, I kind of shortened everything up and trimmed it up and made it a little bit simpler just because I like to do that. So here we go on ingredients. For the ratia, Raita. I really gotta look that up. You need 1 cup of plain Greek yogurt, or I suppose you could use regular yogurt if you drain it some. You're just looking for something a little bit thicker because you are going to add the lime in here, so that's going to thin it down some. 1 tablespoon of canola oil, 1 lime quartered, 1/3 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon honey or sugar, and 1 teaspoon nigella seeds. Then for the kebabs, you have 1 pound of baking potatoes. Let's not get into my discussion on that because we know I don't have somebody here to reel me in. 1 pound of baking potatoes, russet or Yukon Gold. I'm using Yukon Gold. 1.5 teaspoons of cumin seeds. I think my cumin seeds are a little old, so I actually did 1 3/4 teaspoons just to make sure I got plenty of cumin flavor in there. 2 Indian green chilies. I used 1 jalapeno that I had in the fridge, and I only used half of it just to keep the chili flavor down a little bit because I am a weak-palated woman. Well, I should just say a weak-palated white woman that can't handle that much spice. So I'd rather it be a supporting character, and I felt like maybe if I use the whole jalapeno, that might be a little too much for me. 1.5-inch piece of ginger peeled, 1/2 pound of spinach leaves, 1.5 cups peas, fresh or defrosted, 2 tablespoons chickpea flour, 1 tablespoon lemon juice, 1 1/3 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of garam masala, 3 tablespoons of cilantro leaves, finely chopped, and canola oil. The canola oil at the end is for frying. You're going to need a bit. So first we're making the ratia. Raita. First make the yogurt sauce. Put the yogurt into a bowl. I have not done that yet. I just left it in the container. I'm probably just going to make this in the yogurt container because I'm lazy, and then it has a container to stay in. Put the oil into a small frying pan over medium heat, and when hot, add the lime wedges. Fry for a minute on each side or until the sides have become blackened and become sticky. I think this took me about 3 minutes, so I had to do a little bit of finagling around with them just to make sure they got fully burnt on both sides. Then take off the heat. So once they're blackened, take them off the heat. When they have cooled, squeeze them into the yogurt, add salt and your sweetener, stir to mix, garnish with the nigella seeds. Use a squeezed slice of lime to garnish, then refrigerate. I'm just leaving mine at room temperature because I'm lazy and didn't feel like putting it away. We have to wash and peel our potatoes, place them into a saucepan. I actually cut mine up a little bit. Cover with cold water and boil until completely tender. Drain and mash well. While the potatoes are boiling, bash the cumin seeds coarsely with a mortar and pestle. We're going to be using a mortar and pestle a lot for this recipe, so hopefully you have one of those. Then transfer into a small bowl. Grind green chilies and ginger in the mortar and pestle until they both disintegrate, and then mix with the cumin. Wash the spinach and bring some fresh water to a boil. So this is where we're going to diverge from her recipe because I'm like, why, when you need to drain this, are you putting it in fucking water? I know why she's doing this. She is trying to make sure that the green of the spinach stays nice and bright and green. Well, that's nice. I don't think it makes that big of a difference in the end. So I sauteed mine. Mine stayed pretty nice green so far. And then you're not adding additional water. I didn't end up dunking it in ice water like she's suggesting. I did end up squeezing out about a cup of liquid still without boiling in ice bath. I mean, why add more water when you're trying to squeeze out as much water as possible? Chop the spinach finely and add to the mashed potatoes once they are mashed. Then we're adding the peas, cumin, ginger, green chili paste, chickpea flour, lemon juice, salt, garam masala, and cilantro to the potato mixture. Knead with your hands until all the ingredients are well mixed. Then cook a test kebab. Then she just describes how to fry things. We fried things before. So we're going to use a pan, use a good amount of oil, fry it on both sides. Then we want to taste it for seasoning, adjust as necessary, and then fry up the rest of our patty or our kebabs. This is supposed to make 18 kebabs. I think when I made it the first time, I must have made them a little bit larger because I only ended up with 9, maybe 12. I don't know. It's split between me, my brother, and my sister-in-law. There were no leftovers. We ate them all. So they want a ball-sized amount of the potato mixture and flattened into a 2.5-inch diameter patty that's 3/4 of an inch thick. Fry for 2.5 minutes on one side or until golden and crisp. I think it took me a little bit longer to get the crispiness. Then flip over, cook for another 2.5 minutes, and remove with a slotted spoon or any slotted thing. I'm probably going to end up using my fish spatula because that's just an easy thing to use. Cool, taste for salt and lemon, then fry the rest in batches, adding a little oil when you need it to stop the kebabs from sticking to the pan. Keep the cooked kebabs warm in a foiled nest, then serve together with the yogurt sauce. Let's see, what else did I want to mention? There's something here. The first time I did this, I did end up adding a little bit more chickpea flour after I did my test kebab because it kind of fell apart a little bit. We're going to hopefully not need to do that because I really squeezed out my spinach, but also I felt once my potatoes were cooked last time that I could leave them in the warm pot to dry out a little bit. This is a similar technique we used when we were making mashed potatoes. I'm going to use the same technique here because we want to get as much moisture out of this as possible in order to help the kebabs. I'm going to keep calling them patties, but they're kebabs in the best shape that we can. We're going to go to the kitchen. I've got my potatoes cooking, so they might be done by now. So we'll drain them if so. If not, we'll start right in on making our ginger and, well, we're going to have to grind up or bash up our cumin first. Then we will grind up the chili and ginger paste to make that bit and go from there. I'm going to move over to the kitchen and you're coming with me. Potatoes are cooked. I've drained them from the water. I'm now letting them sit in the pan, which I've turned off the heat, and I'm going to bash things up in my mortar and pestle. So starting with our cumin seeds. Now that's releasing a lot of aromatics, so I'm gonna guess that's bashed enough. Now let's make the yogurt sauce. I am gonna make this in the container. I have a little more than a cup in here, so I'm gonna take part of that out. And then I've got my burnt limes here. Love that smell. Oh, shit. They are a little bit slippery though. I'm using a little granulated caramel for my sweetener. My Jell seeds. Sprinkly, sprinkly, sprinkly. Sauce is ready. Next, got our chili, jalapeno. I'm not afraid of substitutions. And we're gonna just beat the shit out of this. One of those times when having a rougher mortar and pestle would probably be advantageous. But I am just gonna kind of beat the shit out of this until it's done. Smashity smash. Smashity smash smash. Smash, 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 smash. I'm gonna want to get something to scrape this around with. Yeah, I'm a little jealous of my brother's mortar and pestle. It's a bit more smashity smash smash capable since it's got ridges and shit. One of those times when you go, couldn't I have just done this in a food processor? Yeah, that'd be a lot easier. But you could get over extraction as well. So it kind of depends on how lazy you are. I mean, clearly what you're really aiming for is getting as much of the cells broken down here as possible. Scrapety scrape. Continue with our abuse of the chili. Chili abuse. It's going on forever. But I am starting to get a pretty good paste going. Perfect, yeah. Scrape again. Scrapety scrape. Scrape, scrape, scrape. It's been going on for, what, 8 minutes now? I don't know if I put the yogurt sauce on this. Squishy squish. I'm not going to be getting a totally cohesive paste out of this because I'm bored already with this. Might just cut it off here because it's pretty well smashed. I mean, it's supposed to be a green paste, but I'm not sure I care that much about making it a super fine paste. I don't mind having the texture of some of these things in there. We'll see. Now I'm feeling guilty because this is not what she wants. Of course, I've already bastardized her recipe, so maybe I shouldn't care. But here we go. Yeah, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. This is hurting my hand. I'm done. And it's been 10 minutes and 35 seconds since I started this, or started the lime yogurt sauce. So I'm good with this. Now it says to mix it with the cumin, but I'm gonna put the cumin back in here. Got this mixed up together. I've got all my ingredients here. Put my Nigella aside. Now, better check on these potatoes. Oh, good. Yeah, they're still quite warm. I'm not really sure. I really want to be sticking my hands in here when I'm doing this. But there we go. Got our spinach. It's a little dark. I don't care. Peas, looking great. I'm going to lift these out just because I defrosted them in this bowl. So I want to see how much there's moisture in here. They retain their moisture pretty well. And I'm wondering if this is more than 1.5 cups, because guess what? I didn't measure this shit. So we got our salt, garam masala, chickpea flour, and lemon juice, cilantro, which I have way more than 3 tablespoons here, so I'm going to save some for a little bit of garnish. And I know it said it wanted me to mix it with my hands, but it's a little warm still. I'm going to mix it with the spatula to begin with. I've already succeeded in having this be much greener than the last time I made these. And the mix looks pretty good. It's holding together quite nicely. And I just realized there's no black pepper in this recipe. And I feel like that's a mistake. Maybe it's not. But I feel like there should be black pepper in here. I'm gonna put some in. My mixture looks pretty good. Kind of holding together already. A little wet, but not too bad. I'm gonna get my pan going. Do I have canola oil? I don't really, but I picked up some sesame oil the other day. And since we learned all about this, and we know it's a high cooking heat oil, I'm gonna use it because this is a neutral one. Fairly warm over here. So we've got that going. And this is looking very nice. Look at this cute little thing. Maybe it's been in there for about a minute. The little bit that I flicked in there is already browned up pretty nicely. The one thing I'm also trying with this recipe, because it's just me today, is I'm only going to do a handful of these right now. Then I'm going to make up the rest of the patties and leave them sit overnight and see how they fry up later. And that way I can kind of get an idea if this is something like you could make ahead and have later in the week, or how well it holds. Turn this on. That's looking good. It's holding together beautifully. I don't want to set the fire alarm off today. All right, finally, one of these is looking really ready. All right, this test kebab is looking ready. So let's pull it off the heat and give it a try. Yeah, that's good. Let's try it with a sauce. Yeah, that's awesome. So success. I'm gonna fry a few more of these up for my snack. I think we can solidly leave this in a world level too, with the frying and so on. God, I love these. Okay, so yeah, overwhelming success. So delicious, and not horrible for you. Hi, Gluttoneers. Breaking in just before the exit of this episode to report on how they fried up later in the week. Unfortunately, they didn't turn out quite as great. I don't think there's any problem really with making these ahead and then maybe doing them the next day. But I was eating these for several days and they were fine, but definitely are the best the first day. So depending on your personal tastes, I probably would not make these and hold them to make a like as a make ahead thing. But it's an option and they're very delicious and I think they're quite good for you. Anyway, back to the outro. Off we go.